Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of my new podcast, Songsmith. On today's first episode, we're going to be starting by talking about what it takes to get started writing your own songs so you can share your ideas through music with those around you. So let's jump right in. Hello everyone, and welcome to Songsmith. I'm your host, Keaton Williamson, and my goal is to help equip you to be the best musician you can be. The purpose of this show is to give you the knowledge it takes to be a successful songwriter, producer, and indie artist, while also honoring God in whatever music you create. We all want to be successful in this crowded space, so join me as we explore what it takes to be a songsmith. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of my new podcast. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this. It's really appreciated, and I believe if you'll listen through the entire episode, as well as all the stuff I have coming after this, you can learn valuable information to be able to take your music to the next level. Like I said before our intro, the topic of today's episode is what it takes to get started writing your own music. If you're anything like me, you probably had the desire to start writing music, but either didn't know where to begin or thought it was just too far off and unachievable. You see all these big names writing amazing hit songs and you think, I could never do that. Well, guess what? You can write songs like that, and possibly even better if you're willing to put in the work and have the determination to stick it out, even when it's difficult. What does it take to get started writing your own music? That's a question that I asked myself when I wanted to begin. In all honesty, it doesn't take that much to really begin, but having a few key tools will really help you in the process of writing your own songs. For starters, you need an idea. That is like the backbone of your song. Without it, things start to be more scrambled or not stay consistent across the entire piece of music. Another good thing to have is a guitar or piano. While they're not required for writing songs, it's really nice to have those things in front of you so you can start putting chord progressions and getting a feel for the song's sound as you're working through it. You can get a better idea of what people might be feeling when they hear your song if you start to work out those chords as you're writing the song. Some people like to start with chord progression and then write lyrics, or some people like to go the other way around. Typically, I'm in between where I'm kind of doing both at the same time. I'm working out lyrics and then finding chords that kind of fit with them, or then I find some chords and then I put lyrics over that. I just bounce back and forth. Something else that's really helpful when writing your songs is to have either a notepad or notes app, as well as a voice memos app. That way you can write down your ideas, write down those chords, keep track of the lyrics, as well as record anything that you might come up with, whether that be a melody, a set of lyrics, or whatever comes to you. Having those things to be able to record as you're working can save you a lot of time and help you not forget those things that just pop in your head all of a sudden. I'm going to break down each of these things in a little more detail and why they're helpful and how you can use them properly. And let's start with the base of a song, the idea. Like I said, the idea is the backbone. It's the thing that kind of guides the whole song and tells you what it's going to be about. You can pull ideas from several different places, from stories to scripture to experiences and so many more things. I'll break down each of those different things in following episodes, but for now, know that those are different good places to start looking for ideas for a song. Having a clear idea for your song is crucial for it to be cohesive and easy to understand. If you can figure out what your idea is and condense it into one sentence that really explains what you're trying to say, that is really good, because then you can work off of that and then build it out throughout your song. I'll use, for example, a song I wrote called Through the Sea. The inspiration for this song came from a podcast episode of a show called The Bible Recap. The podcast is an accompaniment to a year reading plan through the Bible. On that episode, it was talking about the Exodus from Egypt. And the host, Tara Lee Cobble, said the words that God's way is through the sea. I wrote that down on a note card late at night and then eventually came back to it. And now I feel like that song is one of my best songs. It's my favorite and I think it conveys a great message. The idea was the words that God's way is through the sea. He does what's impossible and makes a way that we didn't even think was possible. For the Israelites, who would have expected that the Red Sea was going to part in front of them? It's not like that was even probably on their minds, but God still did that. So that idea that God delivers us in ways that we couldn't have even thought of was the idea behind the song. His way is through the sea. So, in the chorus, I'm singing His ways through the sea, and I'm saying how what He does is more than we could even imagine. It goes farther and beyond what we could comprehend. In the verses, I break that down more practically by exampling the Israelites or even myself in our lives and how he can deliver us from things that we don't understand and how he can deliver us in ways we never would have comprehended. Similarly, if you have your own idea for a song, whatever it may be, typically the chorus is most influenced by this idea because you want it to really encapsulate the main idea of the song. The chorus really tells the listener what exactly you're trying to say, and the verses and bridge just build that out even further. Like I said already, through the sea, the idea was that God's way is through the sea. So the chorus is all about God's way being through the sea. If you can really hone in on that idea and nail down what it is you're trying to say, it'll really influence your chorus and then also help you really think of good ideas that can go off of that for verses, like I explained already. Now, even though that was a Christian-centric song and it's a worship style song, it doesn't have to be Christian to be God-honoring. That's one thing I want to point out before we move on from the idea phase. There are many songs out there that have nothing really to do with God or Christianity, but are still written by Christian artists. That in itself doesn't make it a Christian song, but the heart behind it and the way that things are said does. For instance, in the Psalms, David writes a lot of the Psalms, and there are all these songs of praise and lament, joy, sadness, you name it, it's probably in there. David always brought it back to God, whether it was saying, but your will be done, or at least those type of words, or if it was just asking God for answers to a question. If we can understand that we can write things without them being about God, but still being God honoring in the way we say them, in the way we express our emotions, we can not only make music that is, like I keep saying, God honoring, but also make music that other people can connect to and maybe see something deeper in it without it having to be a deep song. If they can see, wow, this person is able to talk about these things and express their emotions, but still have this sort of contentment or even peace about it, then I want to know where that comes from. Now, I don't want to sound too deep about music, but that kind of stuff can be translated when a song is written in a way that honors God, and that can be a powerful message to your listeners. The next item on our list of songwriting tools is a musical instrument. Obviously, not everybody knows how to play an instrument. I am personally fortunate to be able to play both the guitar and piano, at least chords and worship style music on the piano, so I'm able to work my way around those things, but obviously not everybody knows that. So here are two options. First, if you can play the instrument, great. You have that in front of you, you can work with it as you're going. If you don't know how to play an instrument, then one recommendation I would have is pulling up something like GarageBand, or there's websites out there where you can have chords in front of you. That way, even though you might not be able to play the instrument, you can start messing around with different things and start to get a feel for what your song might sound like. Or even better, you can bring someone else you know in who wants to help you write this song, and they can work with you on the instruments if they know how to do that. GarageBand has a really great tool where you can choose the key you want the song to be in, and then all the chords are right there in front of you, and you can just tap on them and use different octaves, and you can really play around with it. Maybe watch a few videos on how it works, and maybe a few basic music theory videos, but once you have that, you're pretty set to at least get started using chords in your music. So, I've always heard the question asked, and I even myself have asked it, do you start with the music or the lyrics first? Personally, I work with them at the same time, though some people work differently than me. The main thing to remember is that when you're writing a song, that idea has to come first. If you don't have the idea, then you're not really going to know what you're making. You might be able to make something decent, but having that idea really makes it a solid song because you know the direction you're trying to go with it. So, whether you start with lyrics or music first, it really doesn't matter. As long as you have that idea and the feeling you're trying to get across to your audience, then that can guide whatever it is you start with. An analogy I heard was a cereal bowl analogy. Do you start with the milk or the cereal first? Some people do one, other people do the other. I'm personally cereal and then milk. Though, if you don't have the bowl, which is, in this case, the idea, everything just spills and is a glob on the counter. Having that beacon, which is the idea, guiding your song is crucial to making it sound cohesive and interesting. Let's say you start with the lyrics. You have your idea and you want to write about X, Y, or Z. So you start hashing out some lyrics to a chorus or maybe a verse. Once you have those things written, you're like, okay, I want to add some chords. So think about the kind of sound you want. Is it going to be more bright and airy, or is it going to be a sadder, more somber tone? Choose a key that matches that. Minor keys are obviously better for sadder sounding songs, but even sad songs can be done with major chords and major keys if you do it right. If you want to go really simple, you can pull out your keyboard, guitar, piano, whatever instrument it is you know how to play, and start hashing out a basic melody and chord progression with those instruments. After you have a good idea of what you want the music to sound like, you can write lyrics based around that music you just wrote. Both ways work, and it's really nice to experiment with which one works for you. Try writing a few songs, starting with the two different approaches, and see what you like better. And who knows, maybe some songs will work better one way, and another song will work better another way. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not even always the same way for the same person every time. Make sure to have fun and try new things. You'd be surprised how much it can help when you start playing around and finding the thing that really works for you. Finally, while you've been working on your idea and writing those lyrics, trying to hash out your song, giving it music and everything, it's really nice to have a notepad in front of you or some sort of app that you can jot down these things in. The reason for that being is that when we're getting in the groove of writing down music and creating something, early parts of what we were working on might start to slip us, and those early parts might have been really good, and you don't want to forget them. It's nice to have something you can jot down your ideas on and really keep track of all of it and maybe even organize it a little bit. Furthermore, you can put all your chords and stuff on it if you just, scribble it down on a piece of paper or type it into that note so you can know when to play the chord in the song. And then you can easily adjust it later if need be. Also, having a voice memos app is honestly a lifesaver. Sometimes you come up with great lyrics and you write them down, but then you go back later and can't remember how the melody went and you're like, oh, come on. So, if you have a voice memos app, you can sing those lyrics straight into your phone or computer. Then they're there and you don't forget them. Or at least, if you do forget them, you can go back and listen to them. This is also a really great way to keep track of ideas because either A, you can talk about them into your phone, or B, sing an idea into your phone and then come back to it later when you actually have time to write the song. These are all tools I use, and I highly encourage you to try using them as well, especially the ones for trying to keep track of your ideas, because I have a note that you just keep scrolling with song ideas that I want to write, and I can't always do them right in the moment. In fact, most of them I can't, but having those there and being able to come back to them later is extremely helpful for whenever I need an idea or I want to make sure I don't forget the idea I came up with already. I want to talk a little bit about song structure before we end this episode. Most songs are made up of verses, choruses, and bridges. There's sometimes small differences, like oftentimes there's a pre-chorus or an interlude in the song, but the verse, chorus, and bridge are the main parts that are in almost every single song. A bridge is maybe omitted for a third verse, but aside from that, the structure stays relatively same. So how do you write your song? Honestly, you can do whatever sounds best to you. It's your music, it's not somebody else's. So do what you think sounds best to you. Though, if you want to have a consistent structure or a structure that a lot of people use, a good way to structure your song is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. You can add more verses before or after the first chorus. You can repeat the bridge. You can add it at the end of your song. But having that general verse, chorus, bridge, chorus is what a lot of pop and even modern Christian songs do. The feel of the song is nice. The bridge placement helps break up the melody so you have something fresh near the end of the song, and then you can go to a final large or different sounding chorus. I know this is really broad and probably a little bit hard to comprehend if you don't know a bunch about songwriting, but trust me, again, we will talk about this more in following episodes, and I'll dive deeper into this structure and how you can best use it for your songs and leverage it to give the sort of feeling you want in your music. Ultimately, writing a song is about being you. You want to express something that you have to say, not what others have to say. Use it as a way to connect with your listeners, or use it as a way to tell a message of hope to your listeners. You can do so many things with songs, but make sure you're not trying to be somebody else. Be you. Be real. In the show, I have this idea called the Songsmith Challenge. Every episode is going to have one, and it's a small assignment for you listeners to be able to take on. Each one will be relatively simple and not too hard to do, but they will start to build on top of each other. So, as you continue doing more Songsmith challenges and get better at songwriting, then they'll progressively get harder and challenge you to do things you're not as used to doing. This week's Songsmith challenge is a pretty simple one. I want you to create an idea for a song and then take that idea and try and write at least a couple lines of a verse or a couple lines of a chorus for that idea. Don't stress too much over it or how to make it the perfect song. Just get in the habit of doing it. This exercise is more so to get you in the habit of creating songs and song ideas. The more times you can do this, the better. If you can create this idea and then write an entire song out of it, awesome. If all you can do is come up with a small part of a song, that's also great. I just want you to start writing. These Songsmith challenges aren't just something I'm giving you guys to do, but I'm going to try and get in the habit of doing too. And hopefully I can share my progress with you and tell you about what I've been doing. I want to build a community of songwriters, and hopefully you doing these challenges alongside me can help us feel more connected and we can start sharing our music with one another. So get to work creating that new song. And that's the episode for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for tuning in and giving a listen to my new show. I want to say right here and right now, I am learning just like you guys. I've not released any of my own music and simply am just writing it and showing it to my friends. This is a journey that not only am I trying to help you make it through, but also make through myself. What I'm sharing with you is just the knowledge I've learned over the short time that I have been writing music, and any guest I bring on is not only for your benefit, but also for mine. We're all on a level playing field here, and I want to make sure that's known right here from the beginning of the show. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider sharing it with your friends. I would really appreciate it. And hey, if you really liked it, there's 2 more episodes out right now you can go and listen to. I wanted to make sure to give you guys a good taste of what the show is going to be like on launch day. So, if you had fun, go click on those as well. If you want to connect or just say hi, you can find me on Instagram at Songsmithshow. On there, you can stay up to date with all the happenings with the show, and even maybe find some competitions and challenges every once in a while. Again, thank you so much for listening. This has been Keaton Williamson, and you were listening to Songsmith.